The Architectural Board Review meeting for October 1st. I'd like to start with public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on an item not on today's agenda? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the meeting and move on to approval of the minutes of the ABR meeting of September 17th. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Motion made by Kirk, seconded by Paul. Do we have any comments up to and including item number 1?
Madam Chair, on
Yes.
item 3 under the motion, it's just a typo. The second line, number 3, felt the box could work if designed properly instead of property.
Okay. Anything else on
No.
up to item number 1, including item number 1?
Madam Chair, yes.
Yeah, Gary?
I believe that item D went under discussion. We talked about consent calendar, and I think that what we said was, it says here that Kurt agreed to serve ABR consent after the 3 months, and I think that the normal procedure, and we agreed upon that it was to be voted on at the first of the year as we normally schedule consent. Isn't that correct?
Is
There'll
that
be new
correct,
board
Kirk?
members and so
I
forth.
don't remember that discussion.
That's the proper procedure for the
I would say that we need to have two people we need to have two people indicated as the consent reviewers, so that person who's primarily doing it is absent because he's out of town, then the secondary person would step in. I've agreed to do it through December, but the secondary person would be Kurt, and so that if I'm ever out of town for a week, he would step in and be that replacement person.
So it should say that Kurt is the alternate, but not for the next 3 months. Although he certainly can do it the next 3 months in December.
Well,
I'm
that's
just
what I
saying that's
remember
proper.
volunteering for. I didn't remember any other discussion.
As long as it's clear, Gloria, and you understand, then I think that's a minor issue that,
I'm just
doesn't
trying to follow
necessarily-
protocol.
yeah, I understand. Did you understand that, Gloria? How it should be written? We should probably clarify that in the minutes. Anything else up to and including item number 1? Item number 2.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Kirk?
item number 2, number 4 under the motion. So it's kind of rewording that statement. In my view, it should read that show the entire conduit path from point of connection at the street to the exterior of the building. Show any changes to the building at every level.
I think that's good. I agree.
This, there's a little bit more here. This would, so instead of, so I'm breaking this, the second line up, starting a new sentence again. This would include sidewalk and planting areas, handicap ramps, existing pillars, period. Or could say, et cetera, period. And then a new sentence, show exact dimensional features and finished texture of any element that is changing on the existing building.
Did you get all that, Gloria? Thanks, Kirk.
Okay.
Anything else on item number 2? Item number 3?
Madam Chair, just a minor change on the motion, item number 1. Oh, sorry, no, I was marking up. There's 2 motions, it looks like here.
Yeah,
oh,
one
the failed
failed.
one. Oh, there's the failed one. So actually, it's under the substitute motion at the end, paint building H1 a darker red that matches the lower floor color.
All right.
That's all I have on that.
Item number 4.
Under the comments, I believe it's the second to the last sentence, where it says, it was agreed that the process for review of the project could be as proposed for 3 phases with, I should say, up to 3 buildings per phase, if I'm not mistaken. So that could be 1 or 2 or 3 buildings that come in at a time.
All right. Does anybody else remember that?
That sounds good.
Okay. Okay. I think that's when I had to leave. And it doesn't say that on here. Gloria, it might be a good idea to mention who was here and who wasn't at the end of that item and when that motion was made.
We didn't make a motion for discussion purposes only.
I know, I understand that.
I wasn't there, but I did watch the video. That's
Okay.
just where I caught that.
I don't know what's required or what's appropriate, but it might be a good idea. I think it's always a good idea to state who was there at the end of that item. Item number 5. All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right. Moving on to the consent calendar for September 24th. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Paul. Can I have a seconder? Second. Seconded by Stephanie.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Consent calendar for September 24th, we had item A, 491 West Pueblo Street was approved with a condition. Item B, 2017 Chapala Street was continued 1 week. Item C, 231 West Montecito Street got a project design approval and final approval with conditions. Item D, 301 West Cabrillo Boulevard was continued indefinitely to the Planning Commission. Item E, 207 West Anapamoose Street was postponed 1 week. Item F, 2941 State Street was approved as planning staff had originally approved it. They had come back to ask to, staff had approved a meter upgrade with a condition that there be no exposed conduit, so it got built with exposed conduit. So they came in to ask for that approval as it was built in the field, and that was declined. And the consent reviewers asked that the conduit be concealed as it was approved by staff. And consent last week was reviewed by Paul Zink and Chris Gilliland.
Thanks, Tony. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion carries. Thanks, Tony. Consent calendar for today, October 1st. A motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Paul.
Second.
Seconded by Kirk.
All right, consent calendar today, we had item A, 2017 Chapala Street was approved with a condition. Item B, 207 West Anapamoose Street was continued 2 weeks. Item C, 3126 State Street was continued 1 week. Consent today was reviewed by Paul Zink and Chris Gilliland.
All right, thanks, Tony. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Announcements?
There's a change to the agenda. Item 4, 901 Olive Street is requested to be postponed 2 weeks. And that's already at the end of our agenda, so we should just be finishing up earlier without
Thanks,
that last agenda item. And Staff has a request for 2 ABR members to join an awards subcommittee. It's a joint ABR HLC subcommittee to choose award winners for exemplary architecture and landscaping. I don't have too many details whether we're going to do it the same way as we've done it in the past. The last time we did these awards was in 2007. So don't know too many details about how that works exactly, or if the award categories will remain the same. But is there any interest of 2 members to join that kind of committee?
When would that theoretically take place?
I don't know exactly. It's something planning staff is just in the planning stages of revisiting the awards. So we're looking for subcommittee
All right, so it
members.
should probably be somebody who definitely is going to be here next year, who knows they're going to be here for sure next year. So
I just have a question. What was involved the last time it was done? Is it site visits, or are photographs taken and then reviewed as a group, or how does that work?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'd be interested, I think, in doing that.
all right. So Kirk is interested. Anybody else interested?
Let's do it.
And Stephanie. Great.
Okay, thank you. That's
Any more
all I have
announcements?
for announcements.
Any more announcements from the board members? All right, so we're going to move on a few minutes late to item number 1, 400 West Pueblo, the new wireless communications for Verizon. Hi. So we have minutes probably from the last meeting. Get those. Your names for the record while we're waiting for
Tricia Knight representing Verizon Wireless, and I also have with me Kelly McKernan, who is the construction manager for Verizon Wireless.
All right. Thank you. So maybe the best thing is just to go one by one through
Yeah,
the...
that's what kind of I did.
Yeah.
So.
So let's start with number 1. The board is looking for any element added to the building to be fully and properly integrated into the existing architectural. That's kind of an overall statement.
Yes.
So
So pretty significant change since the last time I was
Okay.
here. Is it okay to start? I'm sorry, I didn't mean
yeah,
to
and you know what? I think some of these are going to be general, so maybe I should just read them
Sure.
because they're all going to
Okay.
kind of, I think, blend together. The
Okay.
second one is just to refresh the board's memory on the comments. The second item is reduce as much as possible the dimensional elements being added to the screen to screen the rooftop equipment, whether in thickness, height, width, or depth. The third item was carry down to the roof the antenna screening at the ends of the penthouse to not appear to be cantilevering. Show the element details and connections to the existing element, how they'll be surfaced and treated. 4, show the entire conduit path at every level, including sidewalks, planter areas, handicap ramps, etc., and also exact dimensional features and textured features of the elements. We changed that one a little bit when we made the motion, but
Yes.
you understand.
I heard it, yeah.
And 5 was provide height and width dimensions for the rooftop cable tray. 6 is photos indicating whether or not the penthouse and additions are visible. Okay.
Okay. So last time I was here, the overall opinion that everything needed to be integrated arose from basically 2 design features, primarily, let me say, which were that we were going to be, and I'll pass this photo around again just to remind everyone, these are existing columns on the hospital as it stands now, and we were asking this is AT&T's existing cable path, and we were asking to match that. On an adjacent, and there was not enough details in the plans for you to be able to make that decision because you didn't know what size it was, how much does it stick out, what's the transition from the bottom to the top. And so since that meeting, we've discovered that there is enough room, and I'm going to show you photos and parts of the plan that illustrate this, that there's enough room in this existing cable chase for us to utilize, so we don't have to ask for another one. This is that existing chase. I'm just going to show you some other photos here. Orient myself. So this is from the side here. This little air vent here that you're seeing is right here. So here's the chase. You can clearly see is on top of the existing column. This is looking down, I'm sorry, underneath. I just want to make sure I have it right. There we go. Looking underneath as if, as I'm coming up under here, here's that vent that's right here.
So you're looking up into the chase.
And if you look on your site plans on page, let me remove these for just a second here. On page A6, you will see how, and I'll show you some more pictures of exactly where this is, but you can see here the existing AT&T conduit and cables, and you can see that there's room for us to go ahead and match that design. So this is the area that these two pictures are coming from. So you had asked, it was hard to really envision last time where we were. Were we on a stairwell? Were we on a ramp? This is the, in our elevations, the railing that we were assuming was a ramp when it in fact is not. It's a well. And so here is, let me turn it around again. So here's, once again, is that air vent, just to orient yourself.
That's the sidewalk that you would walk
Sidewalk
on.
out here. So it's down below, not visible from street level.
Yeah.
And then it would be entering, as I've illustrated here, once again, just sort of another view of it down in that hole. And then it goes up all the way to the top, and you can't see it in this picture because of the tree in the way. And so you'll see behind that tree, this is how it transitions to the roof. So there is a thing that pops up here. These cables come out.
Yeah, we exit out of there.
And then they go across the roof in these sleepers, which are the cables that you were asking about last time. And these are not visible because you can see this is the parapet wall around that existing rooftop. And I have the dimensions on those that I'll show you on the plans, but just wanted to kind of show you the different transitions. So there's no changes proposed now for that element.
Okay, great.
And then sort of the next thing was we had some cantilevered on the ends of the building rooftop. Excuse me, sorry. We had some screening elements. So these two here is what I'm going to talk about next. There was some specific details that were asked about what sizes those were. Okay, two things first. So this was originally a small just cap, and you had requested that we extend that all the way to the roof so that we don't have anything cantilevering off the side and appearing to just be sort of a stuck-on element. So I'll pass some photos around that illustrate that, but that's what we've done. We brought that all the way down to the roof level. So originally we had stopped right here past the antennas. Now we've brought both of those extensions all the way down to the rooftop level. There are, so you can see they are, here are the dimensions from the edge to the first antenna, the distance between the antennas, which is on the A5 detail 3 page. The screen box on top is illustrates it a little bit better to show you what needs to actually happen inside that screen box. So this has been brought down to a 5x5. It was originally, I believe, it was 5.5 and 5.5, so not a lot, but that's really the tightest you can get. You can see this antenna is almost touching that. Yeah. So we did the best we could to get that down to the smallest element. And then you had requested that we do some additional viewpoints around the hospital as if you were walking on the street to see where this element may or may not be visible. So you'll see that on the map, there's sort of some ones that are faded, which are views 4, 5, and 6. Those are the new requested views. 1, 2, and 3 were the ones that we came with you, brought the last time we were here. So I'll let you look at those, and those.
Let's put one right here.
Okay.
So maybe just go through
Sure.
these.
So sorry, I'm not very good at doing upside down. Okay, so here we go. So this is the screen. This is the screen box as you're looking here. that has those antennas inside of it. And then this is where we have one sector of, it's going to be that sector of antennas, and that screen element now is coming down all the way to the roof, so it's going to appear to be just the same plane, just a little bit thicker by 2 feet 6 inches. Here's the exit. This view has not changed. This is some existing rooftop equipment. There's the screen box that we propose. You can see that existing equipment there. Sorry, once again, turning it around. So here is the, originally we had just a small cap here. We're bringing that all the way down, and then you can see our screen box here, where it is not there. And then here, the great thing for us is that there's a lot of street trees around the hospital. So if you were going to be walking down the street, it really would be blocked from a majority of viewpoints. You're going to see a small piece of it, but the street trees really do a great job.
Okay. All right. Did you cover everything? Let's see. Let's see.
Got photos, height and dimensions, cable tray. We don't, 3 really, or 4 isn't relevant anymore because we're not going the same way we were before. I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Do we have any public comment for this item? No. All right. Questions from the board. Kirk? Stephanie?
The location of this 5x5, is this the 5x5?
Point to it on here.
The 5x5, the tallest element.
Correct.
Is that location chosen because the existing cable trays are up there, or for the best service possible?
Best service.
The best service, but also the hospital. There's a lot of rooftop equipment right
They're adding
up there, and they're
AC
adding
units
more
all over the
equipment so they
place
can
down lower also.
help us to navigate to be able to stay out of their way in the future.
And has the height changed since the last?
No, it has not. It came down from the very first time I was here. It was originally at 8 feet,
Okay.
but it hasn't changed since the last time.
No questions?
Gary?
Yeah, I had one question, and it's in regards to the existing penthouse. You said that the conduit, there's a wall all the way around the penthouse. So if we look at A4, which we're on, right?
Yeah.
And you said that you had a photograph that there's a wall right there. Why is it that we're seeing on the elevation of the conduit?
What do you mean at the
Why
top?
are
of-
we seeing the cable tray
See if
on the
it's down in
elevation
the room.
if it's down in the
Oh,
well?
well, just so we can show you that it's there.
Because you wanted to call out the dimensions, so
Yeah.
it's 18 inches wide by 12 inches high.
So
Well,
is it? What I'm saying is
Is it
it
Casey
below
and
the
Ash?
wall?
No,
No,
it's
it's gonna-
below the parapet.
below the
Yeah.
parapet.
It's below the
So it should
parapet
be
wall.
dashed on this.
So it should be.
dashed,
So it's not located where you have it on the plan. It's
not.
actually down below.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you won't be able to see, but we put it on there to show you where we're running it. We
Maybe on that length of building. But
Yeah.
not
Okay.
visible.
That
we
was
always
my
do
question.
No questions? Okay. Comments? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Stephanie.
If that's the case, then the cable tray is lower than this line, or is the line higher than that cable tray?
Is lower than this
Yeah,
line.
it's lower than the top of the parapet.
It should be down here.
It
is
should
what
be
she said.
exactly.
Should be somewhere down in here.
The cable tray should.
Yeah,
Correct.
You
dashed.
can kind of see the. See this. This is higher than this. That's the edge of the building. So
Right.
it slopes down,
Okay. Any more questions? Okay,
and that's
comments.
the same up here. Same.
Okay. Comments. Oh, did you have any questions, Kirk?
No.
Okay. Do you have any comments?
I guess I do have a question. It's just the first photograph seems to be showing a cable tray coming over the top of the parapet. So I'm just wondering what that little element is. It's shown as new.
Cable tray, that is a mistake. Okay, I apologize. That, because this was an unchanged view, that did not get removed from the first time. So I apologize for
But
that.
it's going in an existing.
It's going, that is not, that's going away. We're using the existing cable tray. That's correct, yes, the picture
Yes.
that you saw
Everything you see there, we're going to use.
here.
Yeah, the hospital actually wants to use it too.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing in this additional information and photographs. It's very helpful, and obviously the conduit connections are going to be well hidden inside that existing chaise. So that doesn't appear to be an issue any longer. As Gary pointed out, the elevations need to be reflective of what's visible. If something is hidden, obviously we don't want to see it on the elevation. I mean, it could be dashed very lightly,
Okay.
but in the way it's drawn, it looks like it's something being added, a visual element being added. So we need to correct that, and then also the photograph should be representative of the actual installation instead of having errors on it. And the same thing with the cable going up the side of the building, especially in the drawing I'm looking at. It's shown very heavy. It looks like it's something that can be seen. It looks like it's being mounted on the surface. I'm looking at A4 on the northwest elevation. It just needs to be drawn so that it's clear that it's going to be a hidden element, not a visible element.
Oh,
Those-
inside that existing chaise.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're just showing the chase. That's the chase. It says existing AT&T,
Okay.
Power and Toco.
Well,
Okay.
inside cable tray,
Yeah.
So that's just the chase. We're showing the chase.
All right. But
So you will see that because it's exposed. It's there already.
right. But this heavy element if it's inside there, would it not?
Well,
be
this
inside?
is the chase, and we're going inside that,
Okay.
but that is actually
Which is
visible.
how big? How big is that chase?
It's 7 inches deep and it's 14 inches wide.
Okay.
So that is there. That's that.
You want those dimensions called out, or?
Yeah, that was one of the things we asked to see. And it looks from the photographs like there's room in that chase
There
for the
is,
conduit
yeah.
to pass, but
that's
yeah,
what
we need a drawing of that on the plans. And
That's-
and I would just say represented on the elevation so that it's clear that it's not an additional visual element, that it's a hidden element. That's all I'm saying about the elevations.
Okay. It
The
says
way it's drawn, it looks like it's something being added that's visible. So those are my comments.
Stephanie. Paul.
The only comment is thank you for the photographs, and I'm glad you're able to reuse the existing conduit chase. That saved you so much headaches.
Yeah, I know.
So it's a good project, and I can make the findings for no adverse negative impacts, visual impacts.
Thanks, Paul. Gary?
Just some quick comments. Again, thank you. I reiterate what Paul just said. And the only comment I would add is to make a note on the plan that all colors are to match existing buildings. And if you're, it's apparent that you're having a new 200 amp panel, and there will be some exposed conduit, exposed unistrut, and unistrut clamps, and make sure that all of those are painted to match the building and not shiny and new metal. So all new exposed sections should be painted. If you're going to rip out sections of that existing chase, that you repair it in a manner that it doesn't look like it's been decapitated.
Gotcha. We're hoping we don't have to touch it.
Chris? Oh, is that it, Gary? You will.
Hopefully not.
I think everything was covered. I have nothing additional.
Okay, thanks. I don't have anything additional either. I think that you've done a good job of addressing all of the previous comments. So,
I'll make a motion for final approval as noted with the comments that you were taking good notes.
I wrote down the elevations are to reflect the exact locations of all the proposed equipment and cables, et cetera.
Correct. That all the cables are to be hidden.
and to clearly note where the proposal is to be hidden and exposed on the plans, and to note that all the colors are to match existing, and that everything proposed that was to match
All new.
all new paint to match existing.
And then the last item was to provide dimensions of the existing chase, just so that we have a documented record of what that size is.
Okay.
That's my motion.
Thanks, Paul.
Oh, the findings would be for no negative visual impacts, in the sense that the one protrusion that's 5 foot square by, I forget the overall height, I think it's like 5 feet.
7.6.
7.6. Looking at it in the photo montage, it appears to be like the rest of the mechanical equipment on the roofs. That area. It's had compliance with the city code, architectural character because it's matching the existing construction that's out there, appropriate in size, bulk, and scale. We reduced it as much as we can. Sensitivity to landmarks, there aren't any. Public views, we've looked at the photo sims, and no open space.
Under discussion?
Yes.
That was seconded by you, right?
Gary,
Oh, Gary, I'm sorry. Seconded by Gary. Under discussion?
just to be more specific about the one of us, Paul's last comment under the motion, that show the dimensions of the existing chase and the existing conduits in that chase to verify that there is room for new conduits. That's all.
That's fine.
All right. Further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Yeah, thank you for bringing all that in. We'll keep that one.
Oh, you keep
I
that?
think we're going to
Okay.
keep that one. And I think you can take the other ones back. All right. We're back on schedule with item number 2, 601 East Mitchell Traina Street.
Good to have you all here.
Thanks, Brian. We're just happy to be here.
I was worried, there wouldn't be a board today. Brian Cornell, Joe Androlitis. I thought I would come along. I've been kind of watching this all passively in the background, and I couldn't stay away. Just to start with, I want to stress to you guys that our concept from this thing, going all the way back to 2002, was that it was really important that this not look like one comprehensive development like you see all over the world, where it's subtle shades of the same beige, and it's just all too much. So it's why we incorporated the difference in styles, and the colors have played a really important role in that. So and I think when you go up there and you look at it, it works, that it does have these different colors. I'm convinced of that. So we have 3 issues today, right? First one is the stone. The second one is the red color. The third one is that building D that's on Mitchell Traina Street, which you all pointed out last time. So we'll just take them in that order, okay? So the first question, I guess, is really what did we show on the drawings as far as the veneer? So Joe is going to that right now. And what's in question, obviously, is what is up, which is this. Now, I have to tell you, when I went by a month or so ago and I saw this, I said, Joe, what happened? Because that wasn't what we had drawn, which was the 5-point type of stone. And Joe pointed out to me that, in fact, this is all that El Dorado has in this type of stone. We had used El Dorado stone on the project next to the high school off Rinconada, and it was this. So I found out subsequently they stopped manufacturing in that shape, and this was the only shape, and this was then what was instructed to be put up because that was the only available product. So here we are with that, and as far as what we showed on the plans, it just basically called out the El Dorado stone veneer.
So here's the material call out for our plans. This is the set for Villa 2. These are the walls in question. Here's the material called out that says El Dorado Santa Barbara sandstone. So I know the hatch pattern looks like a 5-point, but we use that hatch pattern for all the stone. We have all different kinds of stone on the other.
But that was the intent, and again, the problem here was the product. So here is, first of all, when we discovered that, we did change gears, and in fact, this is the plan. Let me turn it your way that shows the stone walls. So in the bright yellow are the stone walls that exist today out there on the site. In the green are the walls that were called out on the plans as the stone, as that veneer, the El Dorado stone. This is the proposed stone pattern and thickness that we want to go with for all of these walls that you see in orange. So I guess the first matter of business is to make sure that this is going to be okay with you. We obviously are placing a 3.5 inch, 4 inch. What's the thickness of the stone cap?
The stone cap is 4 inch.
4 inch. So a real stone cap of 4 inches goes on the top of these, and we're also making sure that wherever it turns the corner, you don't. It'll be a special stone, so you don't see that you only have a 2 or 2.5 inch thick stone veneer.
Yeah, and then there are some cases where we're trying to match an existing wall that doesn't have a cap, and that existing wall is actually like a boulder wall. It's not even, it's a real stone wall. So we're going to try to match that without the cap, just so it's hard to make that transition.
Because most of these, I think, don't have the cap.
A lot of them don't
in
have
fact, the ones that are in the highlight yellow. So,
and just to note, we rejected this. This was a sample because of the coloring of the stone. So there's a little too much gray in here. So that's being redone.
That is true stone. Yeah, that is the true stone. So my proposal to you is that this fixes obviously the problem, and I think that I feel very strongly that as far as the thickness of this veneer, it's going to work fine as long as it's always dealt with whenever it turns the corner, because otherwise you never see that thickness, and there's good texture to that stone. And that, again, is going in all these public locations along Mitchell-Terrena. So then we have the issue of what to do with this.
This is a green.
Yeah. So we're going to come. I'm going to present to you what we're proposing over here on D. But what I want us to think about, and you're going to want to comprehensively think about all of this, but it strikes me that it's a terrible waste to pull this off, given especially the nature of this project being an affordable housing project. Pull this stone off and place new stone veneer on it. It's obviously going to be very expensive. In that spirit of diversity, which is something that we've wanted to incorporate throughout, it seems to me that allowing this stone to remain with the real sandstone cap is something that, when it's landscaped, is not a terrible thing. It will add to the diversity on the site. It's a stone that exists in the community. This is Cliff Drive. That's Roosevelt School. It wouldn't have been my first choice, but I think that it is a little punitive to have us remove this and replace that stone. So frankly, what I'd like to do, again, in that spirit of diversity, is keep it here with the real stone cap, and then also keep it in this location, which, Joe, if you'll flip to that, is along that South Sepoitas elevation where we would use the same thing. Now, this has not been done yet, so that can be changed to this real sandstone veneer if it is your pleasure. But I certainly would really feel it would be appropriate and certainly approvable to try to keep it where it's been installed in this location, especially given what's on the plans. So that's number one. We can come back to these items. Why don't I talk talk about the other items. The red is totally my fault. I picked that color, and so I like it. There's lots of examples of that red, but that's really not even the point. The point isn't so much that, but that to me that color in particular really reinforces that whole notion of diversity on this site, and I think it works great. And I've had more people calling me and saying they love the color than the opposite. So that's what the color is. We would change out the one building that's the lighter version, which was a concern, to that deeper color, which, you know, those are the same colors. And I feel very strongly about this. I think it's a great addition to the project. Third item is the D building. So this is also something, when I drove out there, I said, oh boy, how did that happen? And I'm not sure how. I mean, frankly, we've had this mixture of styles, and we had this simple little building, which is the D building, and although it's approved exactly like this, I think we need to do something to it. So our proposal to you to do something to it is to first break it up, because right now it's 3 doors that are the same color, and the whole thing is the same color, and it's on Micheltorena. So we think that changing it to basically make it feel like it is what it is, 3 units, and make them different colors will help immensely in helping to break this building up along the streetscape. And then in addition, we think actually, as much as I'm inclined against the notion of adding shutters, I think it will really help in this style of architecture to add shutters and to reinforce the idea of them being different buildings. I think what we should do is put the shutters on these buildings on the 2 ends, and then on the middle unit, simply go ahead and add trim around the windows to add a little more detail at that, and again, reinforce the notion that these are sort of 3 side-by-side units instead of one big building. And those, the 3 colors that we are proposing, this is the existing color, believe it or not. Yeah. You know, Joe brought a photo. I didn't believe it either. In fact, I still sometimes don't believe it, but he convinced me. And then, so keep that color as the middle building, and then go ahead and change out the door color and change out the body color on these other 2 to help create that diversity. So this is, you know, is obviously, it's a unilateral revision on our part to fix what I think is probably the biggest problem out there. And, you know, we'd like your consideration to be able to leave at least the stone veneer that has been placed up here off of California. And that's our proposal.
Thanks, Brian. All right, we have, I have 3 speaker slips, and then a couple of emails that I will read through. So we're going to start with Bob Blackburn.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm pleased that you've decided to do something with the pea green building. I'm not quite convinced about the stone, if it should stay, but I don't have a view of California. My question would be, is this stone going to be the one that, I see the corner of the development from my house. So is this the stone that will, this wall is existing now, this curved wall? Correct?
Is it okay if I...
Yeah, go ahead.
The yellow wall is the existing wall.
Okay.
And then the orange, but yes, the curved wall is existing now. You're right, as just block.
Okay.
Yeah, and it would get this stone.
So that this will get this, and it will
Yeah.
tie into these.
So everything along Micheltorena will get that.
All right, that
That-
answers my question, and I would prefer that that be on California as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Joe Bouchon.
Yes, Governor Rushan. I live at 607 East Sola Street. And while this project isn't within the eyesight of my house, some of the members of our neighborhood organization had some questions, some objections to the colors. So I just want to speak to the colors. As far as the reds, the question was, is that an authentic, appropriate color for a craftsman building? I don't know the answer to that, but that was one of the things that was expressed that I want to express to you. Is I understand the interest in diversity in the project, but having some allegiance to authenticity at some point, I think ought to be adhered to also. That's as to the red building. This building here, I don't know if it's a case of the renderings always looking so much better than the final product. But is this the way this thing looked in the renderings that we?
No, it was all one. I mean, it is all, and approved all is just one color.
Okay. I mean, the building itself.
Yeah, we looked at it last time.
It was
built
always,
the way it's drawn. It was drawn the way it was built.
it was.
But not those colors.
How that slipped by.
Yeah.
But the project as it was pitched was it was going to be craftsman and Spanish. I mean, it wasn't just my recollection. I went and looked it up the other day.
No, you're correct on that, I think, in
How
general.
does this fit in that spectrum of Spanish or craftsman?
I don't know, but actually, we're here to listen to you and not answer your questions.
That's a good question.
But it's a good question.
Okay, and I realize the design of the building isn't up for review, but it's germane to the paint question. And the thing I was going to express before you folks modified the paint colors here was that if this building, sitting between all these other craftsman buildings, has such a contrast and it's sort of a pedestrian-looking building, why have the existing color that kind of accentuates its presence? Could there be painted some color that would somehow make it a little more subdued and not as predominant? Those are my comments.
All right. Thanks, Joe. All right, Rogelio Trujillo. Rogelio, sorry.
Yes. You know, my main concern is that if you start to drive from Notre Dame School all the way down to where it used to be San Francis Hospital, you find all the walls in there on real craftsman stonework, sandstone that is between 6 to 8 inches thick. When you get to San Francis Hospital, the existing one, the one who's still there, is pretty. But then you start with the patches of 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick, because even the one they want to put right now, right by the next to the entrance that they put in there, getting to the corner of California Street, it's only 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick, but it's just a little slab, nothing to do with the 6 to 8 inches that is existing there. So the patching began there. And you don't have to be an architect to see the difference. It's very ugly. And if you go to California Street, the walls are already covered with this veneer that is just like paper. It looks ugly, considering to the ones that are across the street. Because all those houses across the street are full of stonework, either Mexican workers or Italian workers that have been doing all this job all the time, all over Santa Barbara, in Montecito, everywhere. But in here, in my opinion, a landmark building was destroyed because money, I understand, even when the people who just run that building have a lot of money, the Vatican is the richest nation of the world, the Vatican. They have the money to reinforce the hospital. They decide to sell it, and now we have patches in front of our houses. I don't think it's fair. Our houses in there are worth about $1 million, and the ones across the street is $200,000. and they look like it, like $200,000. And I think it's very upsetting to us. You know, more upset than that, you see this form that I got it from one of my neighbors. I'm a good neighbor. All my neighbors like me. But I don't have this paper, and I live in there for 34 years, and they never send me notices of all the changes. Never. When I asked Ram Vizcarra why, he said, well, you are not in the list. Why am not in the list? You don't know it, right? But I know. If you are Mexican or black, and you talk on those places, you are a troublemaker. But if you are white, you are involved in civic affairs. And I happen to be Mexican, descent. That's why I'm not on the list. I think, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But the fact is I don't have those papers coming to my house.
I think staff can answer that question for you, Rogelio, if you wanted to ask them after you get done, but you need to wrap it up too.
I wrapped up, I finished already.
Okay.
But please listen to us. We're the neighbors. We've been there before this project was there. Mm-hmm. We have the right to ask for certain things that work with our neighborhood. Whether we speak English properly or not, we pay the taxes. Okay? Like I say, I've been there for 34 years. Thank you.
I would ask staff too, Rogelio, about why you didn't get the notice. Because everybody who's requested to get a notice,
I have been talking in the meetings that we've been having at the hospital there, up there, talk about the project, and I've been telling Ram Vizcarra that I'm not on the list.
okay.
Why I'm not on the list, and he never gave me an answer.
Why don't you ask staff and they'll be able to answer that for you.
Thank you.
Thanks. In addition to the 3 public speakers, I had 2 emails. One was forwarded to us individually. I don't know if everybody got a chance to read it. I certainly did. From Stephen Fountain. He was here last week. He spoke. His main concern is the color, the red color, and the noise and some other things. But I think in general, in summary of his letter, which you I think have all read, is the color red that he's opposed to. I'm sorry, there's 3. There's one from Kay Hoffman who says that the orange is glaring, would like to see some repainting to softer colors. That's Kay Hoffman. Linda Wright lives 1 block from the development, and she likes the somewhat vibrant colors of 2 of the units that face directly along Metro Trainer. One is reddish, one is golden. I enjoy diversity in color and architecture and the spice they bring to a neighborhood. If every home was painted a neutral color, it would be quite boring. Those are the 3 emails that I have. Any more, Tony? No? All right. Questions from the board? Chris?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few questions. I'm looking at the landscape plans that show what the planting is in front of these walls. And I'm trying to figure out if they're well screened, basically. And so my question is, what is the height of those walls that have the faux fascia?
Oh,
Or approximate height?
yeah, we can look at the elevations probably to figure that out, Jim.
Those are reduced.
They vary, so...
Well, but it would still be the scale. We have an 1/8 scale. You're always going to put So, looks like 8 feet is the high point, and then 4 feet is the low.
Okay.
Which looks about right from the photo. It looks like maybe it's a little less, but
Okay, that answers that question for me. And then what is the stone along the sidewalk? What do you have the detail for that, for what was originally approved? Was it always the 2-inch natural stone
Where?
along the
Yeah, I mean,
sidewalks
that's-
where the
so where we show it in orange.
well, no, actually, I think the yellow.
The yellow's
That's
existing.
That's the
That's
old
the existing. Okay,
stone.
so
from
it is the yellow that the
Orange.
orange that I'm referring to.
And some of it all varies, by the way, while Joe's looking for that. This stepping sort of zigzag wall that then wrapped around, that was done in the 80s. It was a parking lot that was created here in front for the hospital. So all of that is veneer stone over block, just like what we're proposing on the remainder of these walls.
So what was the question? Did you get your question answered?
Well, I was wondering what the approved detail was for those orange walls.
Site wall sections are right there.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, I'd have to look at these are the W walls, so you can see the veneer on there. And then
Those are
depending on
orange
the
walls?
grade- Yeah.
Let's show the thickness of. Looks like it's more than 2 inches, but I guess that would be the mortar also.
Looks like.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just
It's
curious
7.
what that is.
El Dorado stone. No thickness drawn, but it's drawn to scale. It would be half of this.
So this is called out as El Dorado stone.
This is 1 inch, so it would be a half inch.
Yeah. So again, the good news here is obviously what we're proposing is that it's real sandstone and not El Dorado.
It's really hard to tell. Looks like 4 inches, 3-4 inches, something like that. Gary, questions?
Regarding the stone, where's your little guy right here? So I did do an additional site visit, and my questions are in this area right here. So here you have, this is the existing 5-point right here, and as it turns this staircase, what are you envisioning happening right here? Is this all going to, this hasn't been done yet right here, this staircase?
That one side of that has been done. We actually had a site meeting about this last week, actually 3 site meetings. This existing wall, if you look at...
Okay, this side's been done and the inside hasn't been done, right? So what are you envisioning?
Here, look at this.
Okay.
So here's this is actually like
Perfect,
4-inch
yeah.
thick stone on a CMU wall. So we're going to match that and end it in a column. And then we're going to plaster this and have a stone cap on it.
This is going to get plastered, and the inside of that's going to get plastered, or
And
what?
this is going to have a column on the end of it. And the columns will be real stone. Because we have some transitions that we have to deal with.
What
so-
pattern? Plaster columns?
No, they'd be stone columns.
So what pattern would that stone column be?
It'd be the 5-point.
And this one would be,
This is all real stone, so it'd be 5-point as well.
this would be a 5-point column next to this?
Yes.
Okay, and then this one right here is going to be the ashlar pattern again,
That is
That's
this
already-
wall.
yeah.
and that's already done. So you have the ashlar that comes around.
That corner is that corner right there.
And then this is a lower wall, which you see here. And it's just retaining from this front yard. So this doesn't have a cap on it yet, but it'll get the same cap as you see here.
Okay, that was my only question on the stone. Thank you.
Paul? Questions?
When looking at these drawings, these are your construction drawings. Did you look at the ones that were given ABR final approval and ABR preliminary approval to see whether or not El Dorado stone was listed as the material for those walls?
Yes, I did.
And
Listed.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I also asked, last minute I asked staff to bring the drawings, but I have, and this is the same set, so.
Okay. Going to the colors of the building D, what color are you planning on using for the shutters?
I would keep all the trim white. I mean, I didn't mention this before, but it came up with one of the public comments. I feel that the darker we keep the colors, the less that building is going to stand out. I'm concerned that if we go with a lighter color, it's going to actually end up sort of just being more the simple little building it is, and the darker colors are going to help it recede. That's my opinion.
In your opinion, what do you think of the tile roof vents at the top?
right here.
I would be willing to reconsider, to put something else there. I mean, we could theoretically, first of all, first solution would be to just paint those out the body color. Second solution would be to remove them and put maybe just a more traditional vent detail or something like that. Just if I may, Paul, real quickly, by way of explanation, we found a little building in town that was a sweet little, this is not Craftsman, of course. What this is a little cottage, and there was a couple of examples we found that were these sweet little, plaster buildings, very simple detailing, understated with asphalt shingle roofs, and that was sort of the model for this unit type. I agree with people that, it's our least successful building out there.
That's all my questions.
All right, thanks. Stephanie.
No questions.
Kirk.
A few questions. So I'm looking at this. I realize there's different periods when stone was added on the existing stone walls, the real stone walls. So in this one, you can even see it looks like there's some larger stones mixed with maybe something that was done later that for repair. Do you know any of the history behind that?
Well, I don't know the specific history, but I do know that there was a lot of that happened where you can visually see where walls got fixed. In the old entrance to the hospital, which is really in this area that we talked about, there were cases where you saw a mixture of old and new walls when they put in that big driveway that was here at one time.
Okay, so the reason I'm mentioning that is because I'm looking at that example of an existing stone wall that's on the site, and I'm looking at the new 5-point, and what I see here is a lot more irregularity. Like there's 8-sided, 7-sided, much smaller stones and much bigger ones, a lot of variation in size. And I'm wondering how this is going to look in relation to those existing stone walls, because you've got from the site plan, and thank you for bringing that in, by the way, that really helps to clarify what we're looking at. It looks like we have, the new 5-point is like it's another level up above the existing bouldered stone walls, if I'm reading that correctly, right? So that's my question, is how does that look? How do those two look together?
Well, there's only actually one condition where they actually come together in one plane, and that's right here.
Okay, well, I'm not concerned about where they come together in one plane, but like this is a new stone wall that's going to be 5-point, right?
Yes.
And this is an existing boulder wall that's in front of it, right?
Yes.
So that's what I'm, interested in finding out.
And you have that, again, going back to the old hospital, you had that because that was that old street, stone wall from way back, probably turn of the century, and then you had the new stone that was on it, and those two didn't match. And it's interesting, you look at this wall has, probably something that we wouldn't want to try to replicate. It's got a pretty big fat grout joint that almost protrudes beyond the stone. So, this is again where I think there's some quality to the fact that you do have this mixture of things that appear to have evolved over time.
Okay, I appreciate that, and
I think, though, Joe, just real quickly, I think that we pretty much, though, when you spoke with the mason, that they were instructed to sort of match the pattern of the stone,
Well,
right?
I've tried to communicate, though. There's like 6 different stone wall types on this job, so to match
right
one particular one is virtually, it's impossible.
Yeah, well, I'm not suggesting you match, but it seems like some very careful artistry is needed there. And
Let's just keep it to questions right now, Kirk.
Okay.
And then,
That was
And
the
then-
one comment I was going to make.
okay, then make it. No, because we're actually on to comments now.
Well, no, but I'm not done with my question.
Oh, okay.
And then going on to the middle building, and thanks for coming back with some additional detailing there. I think those are great improvements, and I think just a little bit more is needed, as Paul was suggesting. And the question is there some reason why you couldn't add some corbelline or kickers or something on the porch detailing for that middle building to also to distinguish it from the other two? It's a question. Maybe it'll be a comment. And then another question is, in front of that existing, what's now existing ashlar pattern wall, it looks like you've got a 4 or 5 foot planter, and that the dirt is basically going level from the sidewalk. So I don't. This is again a question. First of all, is there any plan to do any mounding there in the landscape plan? And second question is, if there isn't, might it be possible to reduce the height of those walls in some areas by adding some dirt, raising the dirt level between the sidewalk and the wall?
I would think the answer to that question would be somewhat dependent on what we're planting. I would think we could add some slope, but we may be limited to how much slope we can put there with that particular plant material, would be my hunch.
And we have to consider erosion also,
Okay.
where we direct the water.
Okay. That's it.
And
My
then
questions.
you had a comment that you were going to make when we weren't in comments yet. Now we are. And it was about the stone.
Yeah. Well, I have several comments on the stone. One is that I think that we should limit the ashlar pattern to where it is currently. I don't think it should be carried around in California Street, number one. And to look for opportunities to mound the landscaping higher in front of the wall to reduce the height of those existing ashlar pattern walls. As we were going through the discussion and questions, it was pointed out that some new columns were going to be added, and that's not part of the proposal that's in front of us today, but I think it should be, if there are other changes like that, that they should come back to the board, either on consent or full board. And then also finally about the new 5-point, as I started to say, I am concerned that despite the fact that you have different generations of existing stone walls on the site, I'd be very, very disappointed if the new 5-point looked dramatically different from all those others that are currently there. And I think efforts should be made to integrate the new 5-point real stone walls with the existing 5-point or the existing boulder walls. And there's many different ways that could be done. I think part of it is variation in stone size, non-uniformity in the shaping of the stone. I think those are the two critical elements. And then also I think that grout sizes can vary just like they do on the existing. I've seen some gorgeous walls that had very wide grout joints. And some of the oldest stone walls in Santa Barbara have very wide grout joints on them. So I don't think that's, I'd like to see some variation in that as well.
Can I clarify?
Sure.
On the grouting, because the majority of the grouting on the existing walls is thick and it protrudes past the stone. Do you want that matched as well?
Well, I think maybe in some areas. I'm not saying everywhere. Again, I think that the amount of new stone that's getting the real 5-point, it doesn't necessarily have to all look identical, because then it's going to be identifiable as, the stuff they built now, clearly identifiable. I'm saying look for ways to integrate it, and I think there might be different areas where thicker grout is called for. It doesn't have to protrude, but I think some variation would be in line. And then we're calling the metal building, is that D1? D1, I think, yeah. Appreciate the changes. very much, and the added detailing. Would like to see some additional detailing on the porch roof and posts in the middle portion of that D1 building to distinguish it from the other two sides. And also to look at changes to the existing roof or attic vent. Actually, I also have one question, if I may, a very quick one about this, because on the photograph, well, on the drawing that you provided today, it looks like there's a little white trim piece that runs up the rake edge, but on the building there is no little white trim piece.
There's no. That's probably just the drawing. It was just a flashing. That's the way it's detailed. Is just the flashing edge.
Well, maybe that should be painted white then, to give some, so it doesn't just look like it's big slab of plaster going right up to the roof edge.
Is that it, Kirk?
I think so. Let me just check my notes here. Yes, that's it.
All right, Stephanie.
I would agree with Kurt on not adding to the ashlar pattern as proposed on, I believe it's South Zapueta Street. That's you. And perhaps when we word our motion, we should, or directive, maybe that it was taken too literally, that this is 5 points, because each of them are exactly 5 points, and the direction maybe should be to match the existing craftsmanship and quality of the existing walls, and find a portion of that wall that you do want them to emulate and bring it to us and show us. I have a little kind of question about what we've done in the past with the last motion about painting the darker red color. I thought we already made that decision. So is it on the board?
We did make it.
Okay.
It was a continued item, though, but the motion was directing, at the time, the motion was directing the applicant to paint that building a darker red. That was the direction at the time. It was not.
It wasn't proposed. We've revised our color board since.
It was advised, but the motion was continued 2 weeks. It wasn't an approved project at that point.
Regarding those this building D1, I agree with Kirk's comments about coming up with an alternative to that tile accent, or removing it and replacing it with a terracotta instead of white, and perhaps adding some of the trim that you proposed on the middle windows and adding it to the entire building around the windows. I agree with him, with Kirk, about the kickers on the posts, and if the tile accent isn't terracotta, then propose something else that's better. Yeah, I'd like to see exactly what you're proposing for those columns and at the stairway here where the ashlar meets the 5-point wall. I'm not convinced that that's your best solution for that location. As in regards to the people who came before us talking about the thickness of the stone, I understand what you're saying, that you're going to turn corners and with the stone veneer and make it look thicker. And I understand also that planting will hide some of this ashlar pattern. That's why I haven't had much of a problem with it in the past. I think that might be a good solution to mound up the grade a little and ask that the landscape architect keep a close watch on the planting that goes in front of those walls to make sure that it screens it well and integrates it into the project. That's it.
Okay, thanks, Stephanie. Paul, and if somebody's already said what you were going to say, don't say it.
I agree. I'm just going to
Just because we're behind.
We're behind. Briefly reiterate a little bit about the red color, which is the building H, and to say that the board is okay with the color. I'm personally okay with the color. It's going to be fine for the neighborhood. It adds a little bit of diversity. It's not like we're not listening to the neighborhood. It's just enough of these other architects feel like it can fit in this neighborhood, even though that wasn't the original approved color. And it'll add some interest to the neighborhood, some character. We've all studied it a lot. We gave it a lot of thought. And if the whole board wanted the red to be gone, the whole board would have instructed him otherwise. The comments that the other two architects made about building D, I agree with completely. I don't need to go there. The stone, I've always had a concern with it, and it goes back to the very first meeting we had, which was a review after final for as-built things, and it was mentioned that this was done as cost savings valued engineering. And so that was always done as a reduction of cost to save the owner money, which is always important, but then our job is to make sure there isn't a reduction in quality. And so there's going to be a lot of concern based upon what this stone veneer is going to look like. From the last meeting, we said for where the ashlar was along California Street, if you could prove to us on paper where it was, the glue-on El Dorado, we'll let you stay with the glue-on ashlar pattern. You've shown it here, and I believe you, but I believe it's the staff's responsibility to also find it in the preliminary drawings and the final drawings that that's what was on the plans that we approved. As for the site walls, I look at these drawings and I can see note 7 says El Dorado, but you look at the drawings and you see the thickness of the stone that's shown, and it's a little disingenuous to say that you're going to go on with glue-on stone. What's shown here is a 4-inch thick veneer, because when we're reviewing these projects, we don't read the fine print. Gary reads the fine print more than we do. So I still have a concern with the fact that we're not giving the community what was originally said that we were going to do. The board will make sure that what's being put up there fits and matches what the design intent was. I saw the sample. It looks fabulous. I'm impressed. The one concern, which is minor, is that the edges need to be chipped a little bit more. There seem to be a little bit of sharp edges, and I would think that if it was a bigger stone that they would polish the edges a little bit more. I understand there will be mortar in there. Our assignment as architects is not to tell you to make all of the joints 4 inches wide or 2 inches or a half an inch. What Stephanie said is to emulate what was there. We need to be as vague as possible without getting our hands tied with 3/4 inch grout around all these boulders. So that's all I have to say.
Carrie. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, and I'm just going to reiterate on the red paint. We did all do a lot of research, and it was not just a haphazard decision that we went with the red. I know that I spent a lot of time reviewing it, going to the site, looking at it, and checking out all of my historic books and so forth, and I really feel that the red is okay. So I know that's a done deal, but I just wanted to say that because I am continuing to get letters about the red paint, and I don't want to say that I'm ignoring it, but it's my opinion that it's okay. So I'm not ignoring the public. I just don't feel they're right in this particular thing. However, what I do feel right about is the stone. After doing a site visit of it today, I have to say California Street's a mess. How you have the, and the architect said that the hatch pattern that he picked was 5-point. And he's saying, well, that's just the pattern that we picked, it's 5-point. But that doesn't work for me, because you can pick any hatch pattern. You can pick an ashlar hatch pattern, you can pick a coarse hatch pattern, you can pick ranch hatch pattern, you've got a choice there. And choice on this plan that you presented with us is the 5-point. And that's what we're seeing. And for you to come back and say, okay, well, we decided, because of value engineering or because it's not available anymore, we decided to use the ashlar, and we just went ahead and did it. So there's a point here where you made a wrong decision. A wrong decision was made on the site. That being said, I feel like some work needs to be done. And I'm not going to be I don't feel that we should be a complete stickler about what has been performed. And I think these areas right here that you've got and that are done, the largest walls, just in front of this building, I think it's acceptable to keep that ashlar pattern where the bulk of the work is done. But what I don't think is acceptable is where we have this rubble wall, which is this picture right here, and where they did the round over grout on it. And
this is an existing wall.
I understand that. I understand that's an existing wall. But the unfortunate part is where you have that existing wall and you have the ashlar pattern potentially here or there coming around the corner, and it just doesn't look right. So maybe the columns will change that. I don't know. But what I don't like is that we have this one little bit of existing wall right here, and then we moved on over here, and we got that ashlar pattern again. And this isn't a big area right here, but what I'm suggesting is that all of this actually be removed and turned into a rubble wall to match this area. So there's some sort of cohesion right here. This, to me, there's no cohesion. This belongs here, but it just doesn't work for me. This little section that's left is out of place. And you can't just save one little section of rock and put two sections of ashlar pattern next to it or even coarse next to it and think that it works. I don't think it does. And I'd like to hear what the rest of the board thinks, if they think that that works or not. But I can see this working. But my suggestion would be that actually this section right here, this staircase, look like it's part of the old, and just this portion be part of this building as you proposed. It was part of the building, which really isn't because there's a big planter in front of it. The rest of the 5-point that you have going on, the example that you showed and everything, I think that works. I think that works there. I think that maybe you should look for other manufacturers other than El Dorado to see if there's another stone company out there that will give us a different pattern that may be closer to what you proposed on your drawings. But somehow I think that what's going on here is not working. And I would agree with Kurt on the comments of the H building.
Thanks, Gary.
Or
Chris?
the D building.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A lot has been said that I was going to say, but I'm not going to repeat. But one thing I would add is that I think I agree mostly with Gary. I think that the ashlar pattern on the two large walls could be screened enough to blend in with the landscape, and I would actually encourage the landscape architect to revisit the plan to make sure that it does so. And that would be examining type of plant material and also sizes that are proposed to go in front of that wall and above the wall, and if there's a possibility of cascading down from the top of the wall to help hide that, I think that's fine. I think it's realistic that the architect brought up that it is affordable housing and that to take all this off would be a huge expense. So screening it will help, I think. As long as, with the mounting, as long as it doesn't adversely affect drainage and you get some erosion happening there. As far as the other walls, it's difficult to dictate the level of artistry that is going to be put into blending into these existing walls. But I think Kurt brought up a variation in size and size of grout also. Also, maybe a thickness variation would help. Maybe instead of everything being 2 inches thick, could be up to 3 or even 4. So, and then I guess that brings us to this staircase here, and I think I'm on board with Gary in that the feeling of the old wall needs to be brought through the staircase, especially if you have these new columns and those two side by side. When you see fake rock and old real rock together side by side, the fake rock really stands out. So we need to find ways to disintegrate those meeting points. And I think I like the red. I mean, I was scared when I saw the pictures, but going out to the site, I think it looks okay. It's good variation, adds some character to the neighborhood. And I like the changes to the building D. And I think that's all I have.
Thanks, Chris. All right, I'll be brief. As much as I originally didn't like the ashlar, I went out and looked at it, and I don't think it's as bad as I originally thought it was. And as much as I would be hesitant to add even more, I'm looking at the stairwell, and I really hate to rip out things that are already done if they can be fixed. And I think in this case that the stairway, both sides, I know you mentioned doing one side 5-point and one side ashlar. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think anybody thinks it's a good idea, and maybe you probably didn't either. But I think that both sides should be the same, and since this already is ashlar, I think the other side of the staircase could be okay in ashlar, and that this would be part of that new stone pattern, and then everything beyond would be the existing wall. I think that would be an appropriate place to make that transition. That may just be me.
Wait a minute.
Let me finish my comments, and then I'll let you make one more 10-second comment, too. So that's how I feel about that. I agree that some kind of an integration, however that is, whether it's matching or not matching, needs to be thought about and brought back to us with regards to the other walls to guarantee that we're understanding what we're getting and we like what we're getting. I don't think that any more ashlar on the other side of the development in this area would be supportable, is what I'm hearing from the board. I've already told you how I felt about that. I may be alone on that. The red color I was torn with when the meeting started, just because there have been so many people that don't seem to like it. However, I know that probably for as many people that don't like it, there are as many people that do like it. It's a color we would have approved originally, and everybody seems to be okay with it. However, if you were inclined to consider the adjacent neighbors that look at it every single day, it might be a good neighborly gesture to do that. I don't know which of the neighbors live directly across that see it and look out their kitchen window and see it every day. I don't know which ones those are, because there have been so many. But the ones that do, as a neighborly gesture, you might want to look at that. I'm hearing from the board that they're comfortable with the red color, but I'm going to leave that up to you with regards to those people. Building D, I appreciate the changes that you've proposed a lot, and I agree with the small additional alterations that Kirk presented, if they can be incorporated in, such as traditional venting and the trim and the shutters and the changes in the color. And those are my comments.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I just wanted to clarify the stair so everyone understands. We have, like I've communicated before, we have existing wall here.
Wait a minute, before you do that, I have an idea, and I'm curious what you all would think, because this might get us there as well. I think we're going to probably have to come back regardless, but as I look at this, I'm struck by the solution may be to make these plaster.
That's what I was going to say.
Because we get rid of some of the ashlar pattern that way. It makes sense because it's sort of cascading down from this architecture to the street, so it connects it to the street. We could still do the stone pilaster idea, which would be nice to let that stair die into a stone pilaster that then would match.
It's going to match. That's what I was communicating earlier, which obviously didn't get communicated clearly, is that I had a site meeting on this last week, and my solution or suggestion was to build columns here that match this stone with a stone cap, and that we would plaster these walls. This
But
wall
we plaster
intersects
them inside and out.
and outside.
Yeah.
And that, this plaster here hits this wall. I think it's going to look cleaner. There'd be stone cap on this wall.
But not on the stair, not on the sloping wall. Just let that be plaster.
No, we put a stone cap on the plaster
Oh,
wall.
okay. Fine.
That's what we talked about.
I think that there's so much going around with this particular
Well, why don't we propose
transition
that?
why don't you
Okay.
just come back with a
Okay,
proposal?
so here's what I'm hearing. So we need to come back to you. I know we're anxious to keep this going, so you need
Well,
to...
I got,
Yeah.
we're going to be
So
behind
the
schedule.
stone, I'm wondering whether, I heard clearly what Kirk talked about with the stone, and we all are in agreement that we want this stone to look appropriate, believe me. It's very important to us, and this was a disappointment in the first place. So can you guys trust us to, based on what we already know you've seen out there and that you like, Paul, can you trust us to work with the mason to figure out what's going to be the stone, the pattern and direction that's going to work the best with the existing wall so that we can keep moving on these stone walls? Because that's what's important, correct?
Yeah, they're on hold right now. So
Would you be willing to come back as a courtesy review when you've done a...
I'd be happy to, because we're going to come back on this other stuff. I'd be happy to, but I'd be happy to, even if you can assign one member to work with us, and we'll go out there and we'll decide what's going to be the right spec and be able to keep them moving. So I propose that. I propose that we come back with the specific proposal on this stair.
We're going to propose to you, actually, Brian, what we want. So we're so far behind right now that
just
I
trying to
understand. I think we understand where you're going with this. So unless there's something else you want to add really quick, we're going to propose to you what we want.
Okay.
And we understand your concern about needing to move forward. So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion. And that is, first of all, that staff review the preliminary approval drawings and the final drawings to verify that El Dorado stone was used on the building notes, and the applicant will reference those areas to you. Second point is that the applicant will build a mock-up a few days before our next meeting of what they would like to see for the walls, which the style, the character, the grout, and board members will go by and visit this as a sample of what's going to be done for this proposed picture right here. Because what was mentioned was that this was rejected by the office because it was too gray. So put up a wall of how you like it to be as a finished solution, and the board member will have an opportunity to go by and visit it before the next meeting. I don't need to say anything about Building H. Building D, we appreciate the proposed changes to Building D and request that additional corbels are added to the middle unit, and that the vents at the gable end to the two sides be different than what currently exists. And that'll be all for the motion. Oh, well, no, one last thing is that the stone along the South Zapueta side shall be the sandstone veneer as being proposed from Mitchell Chirena. 5 point. And then the last thing is along California Street where the stairs intersect this the street, the applicant come back with a solution to address the ashlar veneer in relationship to the existing stone walls.
I'll second that motion under
Thanks,
discussion.
Kirk. Yes.
I think we would also like to see in the next review, the planting proposed, as Chris mentioned, both above and below the ashlar patterned wall, and to study the possibility of mounding below the wall to reduce the apparent height. That's it.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
I just kind of wanted to get a feeling about the rest of the board, how they feel about the ashlar pattern that's above the staircase, that's beyond the staircase at the next building. And it's kind of it's a small wall, but I kind of feel like that's out of place. And I just wanted to feel of what the rest of the board feels like about that.
You're talking about this area here, right here,
Talking about that area.
Which is-
that area.
which is right here.
This is the higher wall, and this is the low wall.
Why don't we just study that as
I
part
think
of the stairs?
I think it's really part of what's going to happen at the stairs.
Yeah, let's just study that.
If we can leave it at that.
We
leave it as that they should. Can we get it in the motions that they study that?
I think
as part
that-
of the stairs.
I actually will add that to the motion, that the applicant is to study the areas of the stairs along California and the small portion of walls above those stairs. And just as a side note, we're not specific in telling you what to do at those stairs, but to come back with another solution.
Just under discussion, Kirk mentioned to come back with the planting. The planting's done, right? Correct? If we want to look at the planting, we can look at what's being proposed. They're not proposing any changes to the planting.
Well, but they could, to make us more comfortable
So-
with that ashlar
To
wall.
examine the.
It could
So
be
you're
maybe
going to
fine.
examine it
It could be
regardless.
No
It-
problem.
Right.
Okay.
Landscaping's
Okay.
easy.
And can you just repeat for me, Gloria, what's written down for what's going to happen to the D building again with regards to how that came out in the motion? I can't remember before we vote.
Board appreciates the proposed changes to Building D and requests additional corbels added to the middle unit and vents to the gable ends of both of the two sides be different than existing.
Okay. Thanks, Gloria.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
one other item under discussion that I'm not sure about the rest of the board, but I think we were in agreement that the proposed variations in color on D1 are also acceptable.
Yes.
I check one thing real quick on your.
Can you just
kickers?
add that in, Gloria? Hurry up, Joe. We want to move on.
It's
I only have 8-foot header there, so I'm not sure what I can do.
We'll figure it out.
8-foot header where?
We'll figure it out.
Oh, for there. Okay.
Some kickers.
Maybe he was meaning bracing at the columns to pose detail, some kind of scroll detail. I don't know, maybe. Okay. Any more under discussion items? All those in favor say aye.
Excuse.
I'm sorry.
Can we clarify in this motion that the red color on the units was approved today?
Can we add something to the motion stating that
Yeah.
we're okay with that and why?
Yes, I'll add to the motion, make it the second item on that list, that the board has reviewed the red color being proposed for Building H and finds the color being used at the base and the entire structure being painted that color would be an appropriate color for this neighborhood.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstains? Motion carries. Thanks.
guys. Appreciate your
Thanks,
time.
Brian. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just trying to
okay.
move forward.
That's all right.
All right, item number 3, our last item of the evening. We're half hour, 35 minutes behind. 2204 Parkway Drive. What? There is no item 4. It got
The last item.
This is the last item. Item 3, 2204 Parkway Drive. Are they here? Is that you? Must be you. Are you item 3?
I am item 3.
Right on. You have 1 minute to do your presentation.
Everett, what are you presenting for Gil Garcia?
Okay.
Item number 1. We don't even have drawings.
Okay, well, let's see. What are we looking at here? Proposal for a new 2-story building. You have drawings consisting of a second-floor dwelling unit above a new 3-car garage located at the rear of the property. I don't even remember this project. The last time we saw this project was
2 weeks ago.
What does that tell you about me?
Just trying to help.
Where are we? Project continued 2 weeks. with the following comments. Do you want to just go through them one by one?
Sure, that'd be fine.
Number 1, provide a landscape plan that includes a path to the rear units.
Our pathway intersects the main path up to the existing building porch along the property line, and we created a little patio area here. And then the stairs are located here up to the second unit.
All right, Chris is looking at the landscape plan as we speak. Landscape screening for the property to the south,
These canopy trees here.
which are, what are they?
Let's see. I can't read that upside down.
That's the planter bed. This is 1, L2. It's pointing to a detail, let's see. That's a tree planting detail.
Yeah,
That tree is this tree. Pittosporum, okay. Show the proposed planter box. 2 board members felt the box should be eliminated. Others felt the box could work if designed properly and incorporated with higher elements on the south elevation, such as trellis or lattice for privacy.
We ended up changing it to a trellis where if they would like to, they could just place potted plants on top of them.
Okay, so just
Yep, there it is there.
Did you check that with zoning to make sure it was okay?
Yeah, we're allowed a 2-foot architectural projection into the setback.
So that's what's proposed there, a trellis.
Yes.
And that shows up here.
Yeah, the idea is to carry the band around, and then this lattice would be in between the band.
So you have a fascia on the outside
Yes.
edge of it running along, not a trellis with cantilevered elements coming out toward the south.
Right.
It's hard to tell because there's the bubble.
We're late for dinner. Sorry.
No, we're not.
We could also do them as cantilevered beams and do a nice little OG on the end of them.
But right
so
now,
it
I'm
is
just trying to clarify. You have
Yep.
a fascia, and these are contained within it right now.
Yes.
That's what you're
Yes.
proposing. Number 4, show proper finished total height of the building.
Yeah. We actually showed it correctly, and the drawings that they had on file were not accurate, so we actually did lower the building from a 7.5 12 to a 6 and 12. So we have the original drawings here now on the original height that we came in with.
What number was it?
It was 28, or what was it? 26.8?
Yeah, the plans from the June 25th meeting when you all continued the project to the staff hearing officer show the ridge height to be 25 feet 8 inches.
And this is correct. We're looking at the correct
Yes,
proposal.
ma'am.
Okay. 24 feet. 24 feet.
24 feet even. So by reducing from 7.5 to 6.
Okay. Number 5 says carry forward comment 3, which says study reducing the something that got ripped out that I can't read. By
It
reducing
was,
plate heights. What did that say?
Proposed height.
Proposed height by reducing plate heights. Okay. And so that's what you were saying is now we're back to what is correct.
Yes.
Which was not correct before.
No, it was always correct. It's just the original set that you looked at wasn't presented to you when you guys made that motion last time. So we have the correct set on file now.
So we were looking at a set that was incorrect.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And now we've got the right one.
Yes.
All right, good.
Okay.
Trash location.
Okay, we're proposing a fence with a trash enclosure here, and same thing back here for the rear unit, waste and recycle.
And you have a design of that, or what's the material?
No, it's probably going to be a dog-eared fence.
Okay. All right. We have a project that is looking for project design approval. They even brought finish schedule.
These colors are to match the existing residence up front. And I think
Oh,
we
they
have,
are?
yeah, and I think we have big color photographs of that in
Oh,
here.
yeah, let's take a look at that.
Yeah, here they are.
Lime green, okay. All right. Okay, is that it for your presentation?
Yes, it is.
That was quick. Okay, public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on this item? Okay, questions from the board. Does anybody have questions? Stephanie, go ahead.
Are trees allowed in the setback? Are trees allowed in the setback?
Yes.
Okay, all right. They're right on the property line. So
It's up to Chris to look at the
Yeah.
root system on the proposed trees and the canopies, and
that's why I asked the question.
he's looking at that right now. But they are allowed up to the property line. More questions?
Can you reread the what it says about the trees over there? Or can I?
To provide privacy for the neighbor to the south.
Tony, did you receive a withdrawal letter from the neighbor? Did you receive that? You did not? Okay.
Withdrawing what?
Oh, her concerns.
Okay. More questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Gary.
On the trellis, are the beams exposed on that, or are they just, is there a fascia all the way
There's
around?
a fascia all the way around. The way he's presenting it right now, there's a fascia all the way around.
Yeah, although
You can see it on the south elevation.
Yeah, although it could work having the exposed beams as we did carrying the cantilever of the second floor here. So, I don't know. I struggled with that.
Okay.
More questions? Any more questions? Comments? Chris, you want to start?
Comments?
Or do you need some more time to
Need more
observe?
time.
I don't have any comments. I think it's acceptable. I'm just interested. My only concern
Was that whether the pittosporum, I know it's a good screening shrub. I don't know how it really functions well as a tree, so I was waiting to hear Chris's comments on that, but that's my only.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Stephanie? I agree. Okay. Anything else? Okay.
Fine with it.
Gary?
I'm fine with it. The only thing I think is that the trellis actually should have some garbling underneath it to look like something's holding it up. I think that it's kind of floating out there right now with a fascia all the way around it.
Okay. Thanks, Gary. All right, you're up, Chris.
I would say if we're looking at just project design approval, everything looks fine. I would just maybe request that the landscape architect be here the next meeting for final so we can clarify what's happening along this eastern property line.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I agree with some of the other board members who think that resolution of this trellis just needs to come about somehow. That can be done at a later date, but maybe this doesn't even come all the way over here. Maybe it ends, and these are extensions. And I'd like the idea of seeing the exposed members, and I think it just adds some more detail to it.
Okay.
And that's all I have to say. So,
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion for preliminary design approval with the following, returning to consent with the following comments: that the applicant study the trellis and to provide a detail that offers more craftsman-like attention to detail. The applicant is to bring information about the proposed fencing around the trash locations, and that the applicant to study the landscaping along the south or eastern property line, for additional privacy for the neighbor, and that when they return to consent to make sure that the landscape architect is available at that review.
all right. Second for the motion? Stephanie, second the motion first. And under discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
You too. And that concludes the Architectural Board of Review meeting for October 1st. Thank you for listening.
Okay.